My 28M sisters, 38F, 2 kids, 7M, 4M, said that they think my sister's husband, their father, 37M, hates them. I'm not sure if/how to approach this with my sister. My sister and her husband have been a bit rocky for a while, and my mother always complains about the way that her husband speaks to their kids, but never really says anything because they already have issues and she doesn't want to add fuel to the fire. However, last night I was babysitting the 2 children and I asked them if they thought their mum and dad were missing them, and they said only mummy because daddy hates us. When I asked them why, they said all he does is shout at us. He hates us. Not sure whether it's just the kids making things up, being oversensitive, or whether I should approach this with my sister. Sorry if this is the wrong place. If I were in your shoes, I would make the parents aware and nothing else. The kids said this. I don't know what it means, but I thought you would like to know nothing more, nothing less. I wouldn't tell the dad before I spoke to mom. You might make things much worse for the kids and cause him to cut you out from them. Did you tell them that that isn't true? Cause they shouldn't think that even if it is true. Is there someone in your family closer to the dad? Yes, I told them that it isn't true. She probably knows if he's yelling at the children. Mention it during conversation. Kids don't think Jeff likes them, just thought you should know. Sounds like she may need some emotional support. Jeff isn't fun to live with. I don't know. To me this seems simpler than other comments are making it. Call your sister and tell her, I wanted to let you know that while I was sitting last night, I asked the kids if they thought you and Tom were missing them, and they said only you were missing them, because Tom hates them and is always shouting at them. I don't know what the story is there, but I thought you should know that's what they seem to think. I hope everything is okay. It's up to her how to respond. They are so little to be making this up. If they say that their father hates them is because they really feel it. Please, talk to your sister. Just tell her exactly what you've written here. If she underestimates the situation, then you have a big problem. Frown. My pregnant GF, 26, is refusing to discuss to me, 29M, her spending 8K on a bird. I'd like to preface with the fact that I love her and try my hardest to have empathy towards her. But the things she says are so cold that I'm not sure if I'm able to continue. But all at the same time I'm not sure if I'm being too sensitive and taking everything too personally. When we found out she was pregnant we were so insanely excited. She had assumed that she would never be able to, due to medical issues. So before this she would home exotic animals and such. At the moment she has 8 tarantulas, 2 snakes, 2 leopard geckos, 1 bearded dragon, 1 pit bull and an Indian ringneck. On top of this she is making payments on a 6-month scarlet macaw. The pet shop is charging her $8,000 and weaning her. Currently she's paid $2,000 for it. After learning she was pregnant I had assumed she would stop making payments and stop visiting the bird. However, she's formed a connection with her and does not plan on stopping. I knew this would be a touchy subject, so I asked work friends for advice. They told me to approach it with empathy and care. So, I took her to dinner to talk about the baby and plan for the future. We thrifted for baby clothes and I decided not to bring it up until she got a message from a friend. She read it and asked if I'd like to visit the macaw at the pet shop. I agreed to go and I felt like maybe this was when she would talk to me about it. Instead she made the decision on her own to keep the macaw. And I admittedly got upset and with no tact suggested that she didn't continue payments. This started an argument. One that made me realize that there was no way I could change her mind. This scared me because this isn't the only time I've had to basically just accept what she wanted with no say in the matter. Eventually, I apologized and asked her to think about it. She agreed to think about it and acknowledged my concerns were valid. I have Crohn's disease and it flares up with stress. I've been on 3 infusions and finally went into remission but with permanent surgical issues and pain. She owes $5,000 in taxes because of a job that isn't exactly reliable. She is a caretaker and works for the state. She is also still paying off her car. Macaws need a lot of attention. This one still hasn't hit puberty and from what I read they can get aggressive if they aren't getting the right amount of attention. Macaws cause emitter powder that can be harmful to our baby's lungs. I'm afraid that there could be an accident. The reason I say that is because there has already been one with our dog, and the ringneck bugs have also gotten out of enclosures, and unfortunately some of her animals have died due to what I believe was lack of care. Macaws are loud, and I find it impossible to believe it won't be loud when we finally get our baby to sleep, and even vice versa. If possible, I was going to use the GI Bill to take a couple online classes to make some extra money. With a new baby and a full-time job, that would be hard. Adding a macaw to the mix would make it harder. Fast forward to today, and she made a decision, but made that decision without talking to me. Admittedly, I knew she wouldn't budge, but again, what scares me is the lack of communication. I ended up calling her selfish and things blew up. She told me that she did not want to be with me and would rather be single and co-parent. Remember that message that prompted her to go to the pet store? Apparently her friend told her that it's possible to raise both the macaw and baby. Ironically, that person got rid of their macaw because it was aggressive towards their child, and he's regretted it since. That blew my mind, that it was all she needed to hear for her to disregard anything I was concerned about. It wasn't the first time, but today I was called a sensitive bitch, told to get the fuck out of her life, mocked anytime I said anything, and so on. She just asked me the other day to find a way out of my lease so I could help her out more with money. She planned on us getting a bigger home, one where the bird and baby could have their own separate rooms, because right now there's only a bird room. After our argument today, all I asked for was an apology for the name calling. She couldn't do that for me, and on top of it all, I cannot voice any more concerns about the macaw. It will just be a new addition and I have no say. I'm asking for advice. Any kind of advice. Whatever you guys can give me. Please. Too long didn't read. GF wants to buy an $8,000 macaw and is pregnant with no real plan, and I have to just accept it. Edit. I also asked her today if she would try counseling with me. She refused the idea and suggested I do it alone. I also asked her to at least get her mom's advice. She told her everything except the fact she still has to pay $6,000. When asked why she didn't tell her, she said it was because the money shouldn't matter. So basically her mom said she would babysit the macaw when we need a break. Edit number 2. The worst part is, if she would just talk to me as a partner and explain it to me all while acknowledging my concerns, I'd be open to this more. I just want to feel like my concerns were at least considered, and I want to know things like this won't be the norm. Update. Today she lashed out on me, so I had to leave work. Luckily my boss understood. She told me last night she felt alone because I didn't cuddle her or kiss her. I explained that it was because of the things she said and it was hard, so she said, boo-hoo, I called you names and that I need to get over it. So I went to her place, apologized, and took her to get breakfast. I cleaned up the house and made her bed for her to nap. I left and went to my place. I'm currently just waiting for a sign or something. If I stay, I have to accept this lifestyle, and to be fair, I knew it was the way she was. I'm going to try my hardest at this moment to really step it up and just accept this all as fact. I cannot help but be upset though. From my experience, the pet shop would stop all payments if they knew an issue would prevent the buyer from taking care of the bird fully. It's either that or that's just the facade they put up. She even asked the owner for their advice and they said it will definitely be challenging, but you can do it. Everyone keeps telling her that. It feels like I'm the only one against this, but after this post I can at least see I'm not crazy. She also insists that her friends will help. If it becomes too much, they will take the macaw for a couple of months and give us a break. A work friend suggested that it could be because they see it as an opportunity to create a bond and eventually take the bird. But what worries me is the stress it will create for the bird, thus making it have worse behaviors than before. At that point we may have a toddler that wants to explore and gets into her space. Every time I express a concern like that, she simply says, well, you don't have to be with me. I was raised without a father and I turned out fine. You can already guess how fucking scared that makes me. Positive note. Reddit has restored my faith in humanity. You guys are so insanely supportive and give great advice. I'm glad I'm not crazy and blowing this up. With that being said, I don't want any of you to worry about my baby. They will have a loving father that will always have their back and be there for them. I'll lead them in the right direction and show them how proud of them I am of them when they start accomplishing great things. I'm fucking tearing up because I just want my baby to be happy, and it sounds silly that a bird has been such an issue. Thank all of you so much. Your GF doesn't care about you, or the baby really, considering the bird sounds harmful in many different ways for an infant, has made that very clear, refuses therapy, and is telling you to co-parent. So what is the question here? Do you want to be up 24/7 with an irritated baby that can't sleep because of a bird mommy delusionally loves more than her child? Or would you rather have your own place where your child can sleep peacefully during visitation and let the GF deal with the bird issue alone? Right? Like this sounds like a recipe for a bird taking out an infant's eye. And how the hell is her landlord okay with this menagerie? Question mark. This is beyond scope of Reddit, man. Therapy from a well-referred marriage counselor is what is needed. I hate to say it, but also start documenting everything to cover your own ass. Pregnancy causes all kinds of stuff and can trigger onsets of mental issues, temporary to permanent. You said this behavior isn't new, but I've got to ask, in the heat of the moment, what did you say to her? There are two sides to every story, and you admitted you went off on her. You both need help with this relationship, but you need to prep now if you're not willing to deal with her pregnant mental state, because postpartum is way worse, and court custody hearings are a nightmare for men. I'm not even saying prep to fight for primary or residential, just 50-50. Best of luck, and I hope you guys make it. Gosh, I'm sorry you're in this predicament. Have you stated these points to her? About the noise, the mess, bites, which are a very serious concern, and the massive amount of attention they require. Macaws are like toddlers, and that's something that should absolutely be discussed/agreed upon between both parties to live with. A parakeet is incredibly different than a macaw when it comes to the space they take up in a household. It may take her some time to accept that this wasn't meant to be, but state your reasons and be persistent. BC, she hasn't actually adopted the bird yet. She's being selfish. Macaws are deafening. I used to want a bird I fell in love with at a local shop. 10 years later, and I am so thankful I didn't actually get the bird. I used to pet sit for a family that had many big birds. Their house was disgusting no matter how much they cleaned. Also, this isn't even like she's rescuing some bird, sounds like she's buying into the pet trade biz. She'll get over it. Timing is no longer right with a baby on the way. Good luck. She insists that the bird and the baby will never come in contact, so therefore she can't bite the baby. She refused to acknowledge that not everything works out the way she thinks it will. They make huge messes. That doesn't concern her because it will build the baby's immune system. I'll get downvoted for this, but have you considered the bigger issues? For example, the fact that you are convinced other pets of hers have died from neglect should scare the hell out of you if you're having a baby. You also should be terrified that it seems she's relatively careless with making sure all the animals are appropriately separated and supervised. Could any of her animals cause harm to your baby, and are any aggressive if she fails to supervise them? Lastly, the fact she is pregnant, struggling to afford basics like a car and taxes, but is obsessed with spending that much money on a bird and kicks you out on a whim and refuses therapy should be alarming to you, because it seems like her moods and actions are unpredictable, and likely goes beyond hormones. If she won't listen or respect your opinion now, she isn't likely to start. She's delusional to think she can manage all her pets, including a high-maintenance macaw, with a newborn baby. Perhaps start drafting legal custody documents now. Get her to sign so she realizes how seriously concerned you are and what the consequences of her decisions will be. She's essentially choosing a bird over her immediate family. Good luck! Exclamation mark. Her excuse is that the Irwin family did it, so can we. My wife, 22F, has been posting nudes of herself on Twitter despite my 26 meters previous objections. She promised me she would stop 3 years ago. She didn't. I posted about this 3 years ago in r/relationships. I then girlfriend, now wife, was posting sexual pictures of herself on Twitter. It really upset me. I told her I wasn't comfortable with it. She told me that she misunderstood a previous conversation wherein she thought I had said I was okay with it, apologized, and deleted all of the tweets. For a while, she would send me pictures with the intention of seeing which ones I was comfortable with her posting. Seeing as I only ever said I was comfortable with the ones where, you know, she was fully clothed and not doing something sexually suggestive, or outright sexual, she eventually gave up and stopped posting anything like that. Or so I thought. Today out of the blue she sent me lewd pictures of herself. She has low self-esteem concerning her body, especially after her pregnancy. Tell her all the time that I find her attractive, but today I fucked up, sexy, etc. And when we have the time for sex it's good for both of us. Despite that, she very rarely takes pictures like that and sends them to me. I haven't looked at her Twitter in 2 years because I hate Twitter and felt that I could trust her, so I wasn't checking up on her. I got a bad feeling because they were very much like the ones she had used to post, filtered and posed, and she'd gone to the trouble of putting on lingerie and doing all that, and also she clearly had taken them last night while I was at work. In the past, she'd send me stuff like that while I was at work, and then follow it with a bunch of hearts and scroll up in private messages so I wouldn't accidentally open them near coworkers. I went to her Twitter, and there they are, plus a video, and a bunch of other pictures she hadn't sent to me. I was furious. Before I had checked Twitter, I had messaged my appreciation back. I immediately followed that message with me saying that I had seen her Twitter, and that I was very pissed off that she had broken my trust. I went to my computer because Twitter's UI on mobile is ass, and I don't have the app. Before she got her own computer a while back, she had used mine, with her own account on it. She had saved pictures on the computer, and I don't think that she knew that they could be accessed from other accounts. I am not proud of prying, but I was very upset and paranoid, so I looked in her pictures. Mostly backgrounds and anime stuff, but in a small folder, there were more of these fucking pictures, and they were clearly in the place we lived in between my last post and now. So she never stopped doing it. I don't know how often it was, but she never stopped. A month ago she told me that she had expressed a desire for some shoes on her Twitter and that some foot fetishist offered to buy them for her if she took pictures of herself wearing them, specifically her feet. She did it and then only told me about it when I saw them on her shelf. We don't have a lot of money right now and I don't consider the feet to be sexual, even if that person does, so it didn't bother me very much, and I liked that she got these shoes she loves so much without them going on the credit card, but it did bother me that she felt she needed to hide it, and that upon seeing the pictures she sent them, they were not, say, from the knee down, but full body shots of her in short shorts and stockings, etc. Back to today, her response to my irate messages was, well, you don't use them anyway and you don't give me the compliments I want when I do send them to you. Basically meaning she refuses to believe that I masturbate to pictures of her and that I'm not the type of person to get super graphic through texts. She had her regular appointment with her therapist today, and said that the therapist told her that we need to sit down and discuss boundaries, because he's not the only one who gets to have boundaries in your relationship. I get the feeling that she didn't tell the full story to the therapist. We've been fighting a lot lately, mainly in a pattern of she does something, I react negatively, she minimizes, deflects, redirects, etc. We stew for a while, she acts super sweet, and because I'm miserable when we fight and love her desperately, I forgive her without a proper apology. I don't want to make her out to be a bad guy or a narcissist. I know narcissism well, have dealt with it plenty. I know she loves me, and that we both want to make this work. It's only recently, after our last fight and with the suggestion of her therapist, that she's become more open to the idea of a marriage counselor, so even though we can barely afford it, I'm looking for one. I don't want to be in a relationship with someone who posts stuff like that online. I don't have anything against people who do, or against sex workers, but that's not a dynamic I want in my life or my relationship. I especially don't want our child to have to deal with potential repercussions of that in the future. Moreover, my wife wants to become a teacher, but she refuses to accept that she could be shooting her potential future career in the foot by doing this. One of my high school teachers was in a mainstream horror film in the 70s where she was topless for a minute. She changed her name, but was found out anyway, and the school quietly declined to renew her contract. I don't think that society will have progressed so much by the time she gets her degree and starts teaching that if someone unearths one of these pictures she won't lose her job. I'm just feeling so many things, and I'm a stereotypical guy who doesn't express emotion well and all that shit, so I'm really having trouble pinning everything down and finding words for it. My appetite is gone, I'm nauseous, I can't concentrate. I don't yell, ever like Bob Ross. I yelled plenty in the military and that was enough for a lifetime for me, but I yelled at her last time we fought, I mean really full on yelled, and that scares me because more than ever I'm seeing the negative side of my parents in myself. I don't want to be that person. I don't want to get divorced. I don't want to separate. I don't want to fight all the time. How do I handle this? I haven't seen her since I found out, because our work schedules align so that we do the whole ships passing in the night thing. I don't even want to crawl into bed next to her tonight after work. I'm so upset I considered sleeping on the couch, but then I'd have to see her when she gets up early for her job. What should I say to her when I do eventually have to face her and talk to her? I feel like I'll just make it worse, no matter what I say. Saying nothing will upset her too. Writing what I feel down and giving it to her doesn't work. I am hurting a lot.